Okay, amazing. I think we're live. Hi everyone. Welcome to our LinkedIn Live on improving mental health for families. I'm Ashley Chang, one of the co-founders of Sundays. Sundays is an executive assistant service for working parents. Our goal is to help parents get more focused time back at work and quality time with their families. And we know that to do that, families need both great systems and the right support. So we're bringing together experts to help them create exactly that. I'm so excited to talk to Koosed Etting and Amanda Roessler today, which is World Mental Health Day. They are the founders of Jam Family Calendar and will share their own experiences and what they learned building tools for hundreds of families to help them manage their day-to-day with more equity and less stress. I'm just going to say hi quickly. I'm super excited to be here with both of you. We met at the CARE conference earlier this year, and I immediately knew we had a ton in common, so I'm excited to dig into that more today. And before we get started, I'll just share both of your backgrounds a little bit so everybody knows who we're talking to. So Koosed and Amanda are the co-founders of Jam, a pioneering family calendar app designed to dismantle mental load and help families live more efficient and equitable lives. I know from all the people we work with at Sundays that family calendars are a huge issue, so I'm excited to talk more about that. Koosed has 2 decades of experience in female-forward storytelling, starting off her career in the entertainment industry, working with some of the top talent in Hollywood. As she transitioned into motherhood, she broadened her career focus to include more forms of storytelling through branding, content development, marketing, and user experience. Her co-founder and sister, Amanda, is a veteran product manager with a track record of uncovering customer needs and transforming them into software with exceptional user experience. She has a decade of experience working specifically on enterprise-level productivity and project management software before deciding to turn her lens to the issue of family logistics. And they have together, they are moms to 5 kids who are toddlers through teenagers, and they're super passionate about delivering solutions to help reduce pressures and stress on modern families. And I'm just so excited to hear more. I would love to start out by just hearing a little bit more about your story and what led both of you to start Jam.
Yeah, Amanda, do you want to kick that off since you were the catalyst there?
Yeah. So right when I had my second kid, I had a toddler that was in nursery school, and I was working full time. And that's about the time when the mental load just really took over my life. And I was really struggling to figure out a way to kind of tag team some of this with my partner who did want to be involved. He had a little bit of a flexible working situation, but it was so hard because a lot of that information was not getting to him, was not getting to our caretaker, was kind of living in my brain. And it was really overwhelming and really stressful to deal with. And especially for me and my husband, we're both like data people, project managers. We're like hacking any sort of system, all the systems out there, trying to hack it to, help us. And nothing really worked. So then I went to my sister, who was already a mom of 3 at that point and had a little bit more of experience in the motherhood sector. And I was like, what are we supposed to do? Is there something else out there? Is there, a software solution? I was really looking for like a software solution, a hub, a place to kind of like share all this information in one spot. And so it doesn't have to be these like stressful text messages, under my desk during a meeting or, so then I, asked Jess. And
So Amanda came to my house one night and she was saying, okay, what am I missing? What's the app that everybody's using that I haven't heard of yet? And meanwhile, I have 3 kids, elementary school age and up. We, as much as we try to be so organized here, same problems. Literally, my solution was, as I was going to bed, things rattling around in my brain, I would just be emailing myself. And then I would wake up to like 8 emails from myself of like, don't forget to send the strawberries into school. We had no place to share all this information. So I said to Amanda, no, I don't think that exists. And it just so happened that we were having a bunch of friends over that evening, all of them being working moms. And so as they were coming over, we just started asking people, what systems are you using? How do you, kind of share the load with your partner? How do you guys talk about these things? And what happened next was so fascinating because nobody really had the same system as the person next to them. Everything was very cobbled together. And it only took maybe one or two follow-up questions before people would start going, oh, well, our system entirely breaks down then. And we're like, well, how often is that happening? And they're like, maybe like once a day. So everybody started kind of asking everybody, well, how are you doing this? And it really led to this very powerful conversation about the deeper feelings everybody was having of just profound overwhelm, anxiety, depression, burnout. And this huge conversation that overtook the whole night ended up in a text chain of us discussing it further. And then the spouses started getting involved and texting us and saying, well, here's kind of the pressures from our perspective. And so around that time, Amanda and I started looking at each other and saying, okay, clearly this is a big problem. We started talking to, hundreds of parents through focus groups and on the sidelines of soccer games and, at school events. And we said, okay, if nobody is solving this, then maybe we should solve it together and really create the product that we wish we had. And so that's when we decided to launch Jam.
Yeah, that is amazing. I love that story. And I want to get a lot more into how Jam actually works and what you guys designed in a little bit. But super interesting. I personally love that you guys are sisters. I am one of 3 girls and I'm super close with both of my sisters. So I was really curious if there's anything from your childhood growing up together that influenced how you think about the mental load and the systems that you're building today.
Absolutely. So we talk about it all the time. It was really one of our guiding lights, actually. So Amanda and I grew up, in a household kind of a little pre-digital era. So our mom had this kitchen desk, and that's where everything lived. There was a big paper calendar, like a day planner that everybody's events went into, and obviously the flyers that came home from school and the invitations that we would get in the mail would go on the bulletin board there. And everything you needed to know was in this one place. And Amanda and I talked about when we were creating Jam, we wanted to harken back to that feeling of everything being in the one place, everyone in the family knowing where to go without even having to ask mom or dad, but to go and see it and have a little bit more accountability and responsibility themselves. And also kind of harkening back to the soothing back to school shopping vibes that we all loved. There's nothing better than the day you get, your brand new paper planner when you're in 7th grade. And so really taking a lot of the fun of that, but transforming it to the digital era where we live in now, where, look, if you only have your kitchen desk going, you're going to be missing out on a lot of things these days.
Yep. Totally. Yeah, we are so on the go. I've actually been thinking I need to make things a little more analog. I'm like, what calendar should I get for 2035 to have it on the wall again?
I know.
But I think, every family that we work with is moving around constantly. And so we see a lot of trying to develop systems that are really flexible and can move with them. So I love that. Okay, I would love to get into kind of the problem that you guys identified. And I think today being World Mental Health Day, the U.S. Surgeon General's report just kind of brought to light or shined a light on something that a lot of parents already know, which is that parents are really stressed and they're handling a lot. And I think specifically the report highlighted 33% of parents, so at least 1 in 3 parents, saying they have extremely high levels of stress within the past month. And if we think about just the number of people this is affecting, there are 63 million parents with kids under 18 in the US alone. So millions and millions of families who are feeling super stressed on, it seems like, a daily basis. And from the people I've talked to, I feel like this is actually an underestimate, but I would love to hear a little bit from your experience. Why does it feel so hard to be a parent right now?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, we were so excited when that Surgeon General report came out, if anything, because it just felt so validating. I think that so many parents are out there struggling, and it's really easy to feel alone in that. I'm the only one who is feeling so anxious and so I can't get a handle on things, and everybody else has it figured out. So I love that we're finally kind of having these really national public conversations about it. And I think, there's so many reasons why I think parenting is just even more charged today than in the past. But I think one of the biggest things that was highlighted in that report, and then a few other studies that have come out recently, is just about kind of the amount of expectations and pressure on parents, and in particular related to time as well. So one of the big things that came out in that study was that parents are working more hours than they were 40 years ago. They are also exponentially caregiving more hours than they were 40 years ago. Um, you know, even they were talking about this on the daily yesterday of, working parents today are spending more time with their kids than stay-at-home parents were in the 70s. And so obviously spending time with our kids is great, but at what cost is this coming at to our mental health? And what demands are being kind of placed on us as a result, and expectations where you feel like I actually don't even have a moment to myself any day of the week.
I also think that with technology, it's kind of interesting because while it does help us in a lot of ways and help kind of streamline systems, it also gives organizations the ability to be changing things on the fly, sending out, you're getting information in so many different ways now. Was it on the email from the newsletter, school newsletter? Was it in the WhatsApp thread, mom's chain? Or, they can plan to have soccer practice on Thursdays, but then an email is sent an hour beforehand that we're changing things. And like, it didn't used to be that way. Usually it would be like a flyer sent home from school. You'd have the one calendar. It's hard to change things. You couldn't just email all the parents in the classroom the night before, oh, we have to do this too. So I think that kind of like constant influx of information has become really overwhelming as well.
Yeah, totally. I think a lot about just the speed of communication. One of my friends actually just put in a house phone again, and she's like, I want to just be contacted on my home phone. Because I think when you back in that time, you really couldn't be you could cancel practice once in a while, if it's pouring rain, but you can't be regularly making these changes at the last minute. And I think that is a huge aspect of what makes it so hard to manage the day-to-day, especially when you're trying to set your family up for success, and then everything is kind of shifting under your feet constantly.
Exactly.
Absolutely. I also think, I was having a conversation with a teacher the other day, and they were saying, right, years ago, you would just send home a flyer. Obviously, you're hoping the parents are seeing it and then coming to the one thing they're asking you to come to, or sending in the one item. And now, because it is so easy to reach out to families and to parents, that's why we see this influx of all the events at school and all the spirit days and all the things that you're supposed to be bringing in and planning for and doing, that just add constant stress to parents' lives every single day.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. And when you start working with families, so maybe they're in this super stressed position, and they start thinking about what systems and what help they might want to bring on, I've noticed that it takes kind of a big mental shift to be okay with that and to kind of admit that you want things to change. Have you seen that with the people that you're working with as well?
Yes, I think especially in the beginning when we were, we spent a lot of time as we were designing Jam, just talking to parents, getting groups of parents together. And we noticed this really interesting dynamic very early on where people were admitting, yes, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm drowning. I feel like I need help. It's hard. My partner and I are not on the same page. We can't figure out a way to do it. And then at the same time, it's well, I don't want anyone to do that for me, though. I mean, it's my family, or this is what, I would feel guilty if somebody else was helping me in some way, or, maybe I'd feel like less of a good mom or parent, so to speak, that I can't do it all myself. And so we very quickly realized that this was an interesting dynamic to kind of overcome in both the way that we were designing Jam, but also speaking to our customers and to the families out there. And I think the big push for us was, of course, no one wants to outsource the great parts of being a parent, for better or for worse, whether it's a great fun day or a tough conversation. You want to be there for your kids and your family. And even some of the, more errandy type of tasks, if it's something you love. I love decorating my house for holidays and Halloween. Great. Of course, I don't want to outsource that. But then there's so many admin tasks that I don't they're not enriching my life, and my kids' lives are not better for me doing them. They're actually worse because now I'm, in a worse mood, and I don't have as much time to give them the things that, the time I'd like to share with them, or for myself for that matter, so I can be a more present parent. And so I think the real shift there is kind of going to parents and saying, 100% understand. However, now that you've filled out 100 camp forms that take 1 hour each, would you like to outsource that part of it? And I think everyone's like, yes, 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 that part I want to outsource. So you kind of start like introducing the idea of what are these things that should have honestly been automated a long time ago. Mm-hmm. And now let's get that more normalized.
Yeah, I love that of kind of recognizing or pointing at really specific places where they don't feel guilt. Like there's no guilt associated with like someone else doing that. It's just like, please take this off my plate. And then you can build to other things where it might feel more of like a core part of what they're doing, but actually is not super contributing to like their own energy, and someone else could help.
Right. I'm sure, Ashley, you probably feel like this too with the families that work with Sundays, is that I feel like once somebody gets that experience also, and they get the benefit of it, the saved time, or they realize I don't really miss doing that specific thing, or I love that now everybody in my family is actually helping me with this, that then that like stickiness of it, they want to do it. They want to do it more, like, they want more help. They're actually more willing to delegate out in the future. Is that something that you've seen as well?
Totally. It's so addictive once you start doing it and you're like, oh, suddenly I don't have to do all of these things myself. And especially as you start to build trust that like someone's actually going to do these things correctly and in the way that you would want them done. Then you're like, okay, what are all the things that I can get off my plate? And for even me personally, but I started working with someone on our team fairly recently, and like the amount of relief that I feel on a daily basis when I can like put something on her list and like delete it from my list or my like calendar block is so nice. And so, yeah, I think that it's a big shift to like not hold everything so tightly, but really powerful in my experience.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it is like a paradigm shift, especially for busy working moms, because as we know, moms are generally like mentally housing a lot of that information, whether they want to or not. So many of the emails and kind of information portals just come to one parent, and that tends to generally be mom. And so to be able to feel like, oh, I don't have to be the only person who can hold this information. We've heard from so many users who, it used to be when I would go out of town for a work event or for one night, I would be leaving 10-page itineraries for my whole family and my caregivers, which is so much work, by the way. And now I can it's all there and everybody knows what's going on. But it's such a relief to have, other people to help and places to put this information. And to your point, where it's going to be okay. Like it's not all just on my shoulders and I can't ever leave or take a break or get sick or the whole thing's going to fall apart.
Yeah. That was the one like important thing when building Jam, is that it couldn't just be a system where mom is still the admin of the system. That was like, the goal was not to have that, because then it's just another thing for me to do, But the important part was like Jam should be the admin for your family. You send everything to Jam, it gets on there for everyone to see, and then everyone can be in the know. And mom doesn't have to make that, 3-page list when she leaves for a work event. It's all on there for everyone to see already, without all of this extra admin work that no one really wants to be doing. So, yeah.
I love that. And then it's not taking up space in your brain. It's just
exactly
and an app, which is amazing. That's where it should be. Okay. I would love to talk, we will get into Jam in a second. I would love to hear a little bit more about what steps you took with your own families as you were kind of building these systems and what you learned from those maybe prior versions of what Jam is today.
Yeah. So I think like kind of what we were honing in on with Jam from the start is we felt like families really were lost and were missing that framework of a shared, kind of thing to work off of together. And, kind of going back to that kitchen desk example, that was a framework for our family back in the day. So somewhere where everybody knows, where to put things. And I think like along the way, we realized a big piece of it is about visibility and about communication as well. That's where a lot of things were getting lost in translation. And so that was a key part of not just the jam solution, but really like anything we were doing moving forward. Like one thing we often talk about as like a great kind of trick for families and something that we started doing as we were building jam and now we continue doing now that we have jam is that, you know, you can do it any day of the week that you want, but we like Sunday as a Sunday family meeting day. And obviously you can make a Sunday family meeting anything you want, but we were talking more about the logistical side of it, going through with your spouse, with your kids if they're old enough, and really like taking 15 minutes to hit up the beats of what is happening this week. And we kind of talk about how that's like get rid of the Sunday scaries, because when you actually like face it and you're like, oh, okay, like this is happening on Monday, and this not only do we as parents feel like a little bit more settled, but the mental health of your kids is so vastly improved as well. Obviously, there's been so many studies showing that like kids thrive in like structure with schedules. And so I think if you're trying to eliminate chaos in your house in general, as many structures and systems as you can implement that are easy enough for everybody to go along with, the better.
I love that. Anything different that you do, Amanda, or learning from Jessica mostly?
Definitely. We've also implemented like the Sunday family meeting, which is awesome, and just, you know, lets you feel a little bit more prepared for the upcoming week. Especially there's always seems to be with preschool, there's always things that you're like have to bring in for school for some little event. So to not, you know, kind of see that right at 8 a.m. when you're driving your kid is nice to have some forewarning about that. But I also really like to automate as much as we can, you know, like grocery lists or, you know, the cat food and all the cat stuff we have at our house, like, you know, having those things on like an automated subscription, because I really don't need to, you know, rethink about this each week that, you know, these are the type of snacks my kids like. And usually we make these things for lunch. So like those things should just be coming to the house. And it really just like takes a mental load off where you're not like, shoot, now we don't have anything and we're behind the 8 ball and I have to like order all of this or run to the grocery store really quickly. So really trying to find those things to find ways to like automate some of these systems.
And then I think like another thing on kind of the positive side is that when we're trying to like improve our overall mental health as parents and feel less stressed out, it really helps to have kind of the positive things that you get to do every single week as well, that I think a lot of us never feel like we can make time for, whether that's like a workout or getting together with a friend or, you know, reading a book for 20 minutes. So whether you're like actively scheduling that time in for yourself in that Sunday meeting, or I'm a big proponent of kind of like 2 for 1, like I'll take a walk, but with my spouse because we haven't had much time to catch up this week, or, you know, with a friend, or I love to read, but I don't always give myself permission to do that at night. I'm like, oh, I still have to do more work. But if my kid has to read a book for school, I'm like, great, I'm going to read next to you. And then that's like the best part of my day. So, you know, kind of taking advantage of those moments, and whether you're scheduling them in or like making them like extra worth it, I think can actually go a long way as well to then having the mental energy to get through the rest of the things.
I love that. That's such a great tip. I think when I was first starting Sundays, I interviewed as many parents as I could. So like hundreds of people, and most of their schedules would be like, watch kids in the morning, go to work, watch kids in the evening, go back to paid work, and had very little time for themselves, or even just to like remember these small moments that they can really enjoy. So I love the idea of scheduling them, or even just like making time to recognize that these are happening on a daily basis when the rest of the world can feel super stressful.
Yeah. And I think you're right. I think that is what so many working parents are doing. I think, you know, with hybrid work or remote work, that's like a little bit of the trade-off is you're like, great, instead of, you know, going down to Starbucks, my office Starbucks at 3 p.m., at 3 p.m. I'm going to go quickly pick my kids up and bring them home or bring them to soccer, but that means I'm going to be working later tonight to get everything done that I, didn't finish during that time. So we know that time, comes from somewhere, but I think a lot of us like that trade-off as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, I would love to talk about jam, and just in case anybody joined a little bit late, can one of you guys just give an overview of what jam is again?
Yeah, so Jam is an AI-enabled family calendar platform. It simplifies scheduling and coordination for busy families that are struggling with the complex logistics of the mental load. And really, our goal is to make modern family life more easy, more efficient, and more equal for everybody. And really, like we were saying before, we want Jam to be that central hub for your family, that central operating system, not just for the parents, but for the kids, for caregivers, for extended village, for anybody who's in the orbit of your family.
Yeah, I love that. And so imagine maybe you're me and you have just like today Google Calendar, and my husband has a different Google Calendar. And then there's like a bunch of other activities going on. Like, how does Jam slot into how do we get set up and like I think that Amanda, you mentioned that the goal is like Jam is the admin and the coordinator of everything. So like, how do I make that happen?
You want to talk about our calendar, Amanda?
Yeah. So the first thing is, getting set up on Jam. You can obviously, sync in any external calendars. But what people really love the most is that we built out a proprietary calendar. So you can easily tag who's going to be going to an event. You don't need to invite your partner. But you could also have anyone in your family, just easily tag them. You can also add other notes like, what do we need to bring for that event? Or what do we need to do ahead of time? Those are things that kind of get lost sometimes. And you just see the event and you're like, oh God, I forgot to get that birthday present. And now I have to go to the birthday party an hour before. What's also really cool is with Jam, you can forward any sort of email that has events in it, like a party invite, travel confirmation, school newsletters, and you forward it to Jam. Those events get on the calendar, but we also will suggest the to-brings and the to-dos by, what was either mentioned in the email, or if it says birthday party, we'll say, oh, would you like to add, buy birthday present on your to-do list? So then you have that heads up, and it just kind of like looking out in the future a little bit so that you don't have to do it, and kind of giving you that forewarning, oh, you might need to be getting these things, or would you like to add, get apples, to your shopping list. So that's really the first thing that gets everyone really excited about Jam, is just the difference of our calendar system versus everything else that's out there. It's just more of like a collaborative type of calendar system. And then from there, what's really cool is it's really all about collaboration. So you can have your own to-do list. You can have collaborative to-do lists about different projects you have going on at home. You can also have shopping lists, shared shopping lists, secret shopping lists. I mean, definitely couples love the shared shopping list. That is definitely.
I also love the secret shopping list too.
I like the secret shopping list, especially as we get closer to the holidays. I feel like it's really helpful.
And just like a place to put all those notes, all those links, all of that, where you know where it is, and you just don't have to have, a million tabs open of what you were wanting to purchase in the future.
Yeah, I think the big thing is that kind of is what's different from Google or Apple, which again, like Amanda said, of course, sync in those Google and Apple calendars that you have, that's easy. But with, 3 kids that go different directions every day, and then my husband is driving or I'm driving, how do you put all that in Google? I can tell you how. You either have to create 4 duplicate events, or I have to send out invites to my family members. How do I show that he's driving, but then he's leaving, but I'm showing up later? These are the complex logistics of families. And we kind of recognized really early on, families act differently than just an individual or like 2 adults that live together. Families operate more like a team you might see at work, for example. And so we were really trying to create something that works more for that like team, like Amanda said, where everybody can see, oh, this is where, my son is. He's at soccer, and my husband is the one assigned to pick up. And that's automatically going to go into his calendar, and he's automatically going to get a reminder about it. So I'm not, to Amanda's point earlier, sitting in a Zoom, like side texting him, like, did you remember you're picking him up today? And so I think having a place where all the invisible labor that does not live in other places can now live and be visible, that's what's going to happen when you onboard onto Jam.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that. Is there like a particular feature that your users love the most?
Yeah, I would say to Amanda's point, the thing that they get hooked on right away is people love in the calendar itself that you can tag who is going and who is driving. They start doing it right away. They start emailing us like, I love this. It's so much better. It's so easy. And then I think the thing that usually maybe takes them a few days to learn about, but then they love once they've done it, is that forward your emails to Jam feature, which we call Jam on it. And I think there's like always a really fun aha moment with it. Sometimes I've been like when we onboarded a lot of our beta users, we got to witness it, and I wish I was videotaping them because they'd be like, oh my God, because it's not just sending in, like, I don't know, like an e-bite you got, forward it and ends up on the calendar. That's great. We're talking about these crazy emails that like a coach or a ballet teacher sends that have like 8 paragraphs with very important information, like somewhere in paragraph 4.
Like deep four paragraphs in.
You send that to Jam and we'll get all the dates. We'll get all the rehearsals and we'll get what you're supposed to bring and you're supposed to do. And so I think when we're talking about so much of the stress and anxiety comes from just not feeling like you have enough time or that you're spending all this time doing these kind of ridiculous menial things, if you can even save 10 minutes a week, just forwarding the stuff to the calendar, I mean, over a month and over a year, that's so much more time to yourself. So that one is the one, kind of like you were saying before, that's the one that becomes the most addictive, I think.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I love that. And I think that's, I could see so many parents just falling in love with that. I think that that's the type of work where it's really tedious. And I talked to a mom yesterday, I think, where she was like, my daughter takes like these electives in school, and like the school sends a newsletter. Every elective sends a newsletter. All of her extracurriculars send a newsletter.
Exactly.
So the quantity is really high. And then it's so many small things that you just have to remember over the course of the week or day until it's needed, that having somewhere that stores all that information is so valuable, especially if it does it automatically for you.
That's right. And we really were learning from parents that before Jam, they were just constantly rechecking the emails that would go out. Like, where is that email? And of course, they're the only one who got the email, so it's just, in addition to, did it even ever make it onto the calendar before? More likely they were even spending more time. I wasn't. We've got, we know it's not getting on the calendar usually unless you can just, automate it. So.
Yeah, I love that. How do parents feel about working with an AI-enabled tool? Are people nervous about that? Are they feeling confident? I know there's a lot that's changed probably since you guys started Jam about how people are feeling about AI.
Yeah, I definitely think in the beginning, when we were first developing Jam, there probably was a little more hesitation about it. It was a little bit newer. And I think now it has entered the zeitgeist so much more. You're seeing, any website you're going on has an AI helper that can maybe answer your question. And I think that it really kind of goes back to, what are you asking AI to do for you? Is it, something like, automating things going on my calendar? That's a yes. Is it my teenager, trying to use Chat GPT to write an essay? That's a no. So it's really about finding the best ways for, AI to be a help to families and to streamline the things that we didn't, that we don't really want to have to do, kind of those admin tasks like we were talking about before. And I think Amanda can speak a little more too to, what we've done on our end, just in terms of reassuring families about, the AI that we use and how it's used and what it's used for as well.
Yeah, I think it's really important with any sort of technology to really get that trust, especially we're dealing with family data, kids data. You have to have that trust and that privacy there. And really knowing that we're using this only for the specific task. We're, parsing through this data in a particular way. We're encrypting this data. I think we're using this for our own family. So it's really up to that same standard that I would expect. And, whether it be AI or just really any application you're using, it can either go one way of people really giving you a reason to trust them, or another way where a lot of people are selling your data or sharing your data, or not doing things in the most private way. So it was really important to us to also be transparent about how we're using the AI, so that families can trust it. And then once they've tried it and seen it, it's like, oh, okay, great, this is amazing. And then
that makes a lot of sense. What's next for Jam? What kind of, are you going to build more systems in? How are you guys thinking about it?
Yeah, we are only just beginning. On the product side, we definitely want to keep building out that AI engine in a sense, making it even smarter, and making it even a little more proactive as well, where Jam is not just taking in the emails that we're sending to it, but it's actually looking at your calendar and kind of noticing things you might have missed. For example, a really big, very common use case, both in my home and many parents everywhere, is that there's a date night or just, a night out for the two parents of the household, and on Saturday, and it's like, I don't know, Friday, when they realize that the babysitter was never booked. And oh no, what do we do now? So where Jam is saying, hey, it looks like there's an event scheduled for just the two adults on Friday. Do you need to book a babysitter? And if your caregiver is in your Jam inner circle or extended village, then Jam can just send the ask right then and there. And if your caregiver can do it, great. Yes, it goes on everybody's calendars. So those are the kind of like automations that we're building towards. Also, our sharing features we're building out right now too, so that families can coordinate a little more seamlessly with people in their extended village. So this is a big thing for us. We know as moms, like, it's not just about our family unit. There are probably 5 to 10 families that I am counting on a weekly basis, or who are counting on me for something, for a ride, for a pickup, for I'm bringing something to their house. And so our play date is going to be happening. And so to be able to have ways to share these events and share the driving and kind of share that life with your extended village has always been, a thing that we were driving, towards very quickly with Jam.
That's so important. I know for so many people that we work with, we sometimes will even be like the person texting and making sure that everybody's on the same page. And I think if there's an easier way to do that, that's what everyone wants.
Yeah, I mean, even the mental load of carpools, I could write a whole book about that. So it's a constant. And those are the things too, when you're like a working parent and all of a sudden it's not your day, and you're in a meeting or you're presenting something and your phone is like ding, ding, and you're like, oh God, what is happening right now? Who forgot who? Those are the kind of stressors that we're looking to alleviate for families as well, who kind of straddle that line.
Yeah, I love that. That's so important. Okay, well, I think we should probably wrap up. It was so great to hear the story of Jam and how you guys got started. And I love that you're bringing together all this feedback from so many families and helping to build a system that really helps take off the mental load and feels like another person that's helping to manage your home for y'all. Last question for you. Where can people find out more about Jam and about each of you?
Of course, you can find us at jamfamilycalendar.com, or you can check us out on Instagram at jamfamilycalendar, and you can find us on there as well.
Amazing. Thank you both so much. It was so fun to talk to you.
So fun to talk to you, Ashley.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.